Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Linda's Two Plants for You. I know that many of you are anxiously awaiting my part 3, I believe it is. Might even be part 4, I forget now, but I'm doing several parts as I'm cleaning up my plants and doing some fall cleaning before winter sets in. And I went around the living room to 3 different areas, and I'm anxiously waiting to show you my corner behind my sofa with my Mars Hydrolite, where a lot of the plants that I have in my dining room are going to be going. I can't put them there yet because there's not quite enough light, and my poor husband has been working 12 hours a day plus Saturdays at his regular job, and then he's got another part-time job for a friend of his who has the plowing contract for Mitchell International Airport by us, and it's that time of year, so they're getting the machines ready to go out. So he's really, in addition to taking care of me, because as most of you know, he has a lot of the domestic duties that I would traditionally do and have done for almost 40 years, but I'm unable to do right now. So he's really got a lot on his plate, and in between there, our daughter's car broke down and he had to work on that, and it's just been, we've had a really rough couple months here, so not complaining. I'm just letting you know that's really the reason what's taking me so long. And if I sound kind of down today, I apologize. I really don't like doing videos when I'm feeling that way, but if I wait until I'm feeling really great, it may be another week. I don't know. I'm going to try and stay as upbeat today as I can, because I do have some things that I want to show you, and this is not part of my series, but it is something that I think you might be interested in. And I'm going to start with the one in front here. This is it's called a Limelight, and it's a Dracaena. Actually, let's see what it says here. Hi there, friends call me Limelight. My full name is Dracaena deramensis. Apologize for the delay there. I don't have my glasses on. This is a really beautiful plant, but it's one of them that got kind of shoved in the back. It really shouldn't, but it kind of took second fiddle to my other plants, especially my begonias. Those of you that know me, you know how fond I am of my begonias. Those are my favorite children. And I know we're not supposed to have favorites, but I admit it, I do. So, but today I want to clean this up, and darn it if I didn't bring my scissors. I'll just grab that. But as you can see, there's a lot of browning on the leaves, and that is probably from lack of water. It was stuck behind my money tree plant, and I didn't even see it a couple of times that I watered. And then the one day that I did notice it, it was like, oh, holy cow, I forgot that was back there. So, I'm trying to figure out a way for that not to happen again. But it's hard because I have such little space to work with, and I bought some very nice IKEA shelves with the idea of putting my smaller plants on the second shelf. But because I cannot bend now, I can't get down there to water them. I am unable to put those plants down there, and it also needs to have some kind of lighting down there, whether it be a strip light or whatever. I'm not sure what would work best, but for now, it's housing my terracotta pots, and hopefully someday in the future I will be able to remedy that. In the meantime, let's get down to the plants. So what I'm going to do here, as I do with all of my plants when they have edges like this, is I clip them off, and I'm going to clip them in the same shape that they're in. I mean, I could just go like this, but that doesn't look very good to have a straight edge. So I'm going to take and go like this. And like this. By the way, I did wipe these off with rubbing alcohol, as I always do before I clip into my plants. And this might be a good time to mention that when you do that, you need to be careful, because some plants are very sensitive to that. Calatheas are one of them. So make sure that scissors, if you use the rubbing alcohol, make sure that that's good and dry before you start cutting into your calatheas. Or calatheas, that's what I usually end up saying, but I've been corrected on that a few times, so. Alright. This is a shame, isn't it? But it must be a pretty hardy plant to be able to withstand that and still be beautiful green and still putting out new growth. Now this leaf is kind of yellowing. I don't believe that's going to come back, but we'll just leave it on there for now. Sun is shining here today. So happy about that. I don't know why, but the scissors doesn't seem to be working very well. There. I think we got her. Oh, there's one more. Alright. It looks like we got them all. I bought a handful of these pots at, it was either, I think it was Menards. A couple. The last time I left the house, about 2.5 months ago or so. And they're nice because they do have drainage holes, but the bottom of it also has drainage holes, but the holes that are in, you can either have this be a draining pot or a non-draining pot, because it's got plugs It's got 6 holes, 3 of them are plugged. If you want it to be a full draining pot into something else, you simply snap that bottom piece off and turn it and put it back on. So I kind of like it, and I like the color. It's a natural green. And okay, so I'm going to take this out. Put it in my trusty green pot here. Look at the roots. I think I waited a little too long. And this is a self-watering pot, but I don't normally use those. I just, for some reason, I've never been able to get comfortable with bottom watering. And I know it's very successful for some people. And I certainly don't fault anybody for doing that. For me, it's just never been in my comfort zone, so I guess I don't trust myself to know that there's enough water, and then to have to remember to go back afterwards. I don't know. I like to have control over how much water is going in, I guess, and I like to see what I'm putting in there and how quickly it's taking it up. And you know, there's some things that just that are not comfortable for us in the plant world. We all have our own way of doing things, and that's okay. There's many different ways to do things. It doesn't necessarily mean one is more correct than the other, although that may be true regarding certain aspects of the plant world, but it's really not where this is concerned. Okay. All right. Her roots look pretty healthy. I'm really quite surprised. I think I showed you that. So we're going to put her in here. I think that's a perfect size for her. I know you all are probably getting ready for the holidays. I would be too. But this year, I guess that's just going to be difficult for a lot of people. But we're going to get through this, folks. We're going to get through it. And again, I'm just using my pre-mixed potting soil. It's Fox Farm, but I add quite a bit of perlite to it because I really like to have good drainage. There. I think that'll work. Being careful not to get the soil up too high because I have a habit of doing that, and that's not good for several reasons. You never want to repot your plant with the soil level and higher than it was originally, because it will cause it to rot right at the crown of the plant. I think most people know that, but it is worth mentioning. And then my other problem is if I get it too high, I tend to spill when I water. You all know that about me by now. So, alright, I think she's good right there. Yeah. Knock out any air pockets. Okay. I think that's good. Yeah, I like that. And I think I'm probably going to be moving her back into the living room where I originally had her. Put her down with my and with my calatheas and a few other plants that I've gotten there. We'll see. Alright. And then we've got, most of you will recognize these are leaves from my begonia maculata whitei. My plant was pretty tall, and I had it in the living room on that round table with my other begonias. And my husband went to turn the lights off for me one night, and somehow he knocked these off of the plant. I'm not sure how that happened, but like I said, he's so tired, he probably didn't even... I think he realized he knocked one because he said something about it, but I found some more on the floor the next day. So I picked them up and I put them in water, and look at the roots. So now you'll notice that the color's not real great. I had these under a very bright LED light, and I think it was too much light for the plant. So I probably won't put it back where I had it rooting, but that's okay. I'm going to fill this up all the way. And I'm going to need to water this. I've had one or two people ask me about this bracelet I've got on my arm. I don't know if you can see it. And no, it is not a computer, and it is not, it's not for decoration, obviously. It's so ugly. It is a first alert type thing. It's got a button on it that if I should fall, I just press this button, and it's hooked to my home phone, and it's pretty, they say up to 500 feet. I'd have to see that to actually believe it, but at least within my home I know I'm safe. I never thought I'd see the day where I had to wear one of those, and I'm awfully young to be wearing one, but most of you know I took a terrible fall back in June, and luckily I was on the cell phone with my daughter when it happened, or I might have been laying here for many, many hours in excruciating pain. I broke both of my arms, one of them in two places, and I totally shattered my shoulder. So if you can imagine, that was crazy, crazy pain. And like I said, luckily I was on the phone with my daughter. She called my granddaughter because she could get here quicker. And when they got here, they called the ambulance, and I spent 5 days in the hospital. And I'm on the mend, and I'm doing okay now. I've got occupational therapy coming to my house twice a week, and that's helping. That's doing a lot of good. But that's what that is. I'm not trying to make a fashion statement, but it does give me a lot of peace of mind to know that if that should happen again, that an ambulance is just a push button away. So, all right. I think this is dry here. No, yeah. Well, not dry, but dry enough that I can plant my begonia. These are just barbecue skewers that I got at Pick and Save, and now Kroger. And I don't know, there was like 100 of them for $1.99 or something like that. They were very, very cheap. And I've used them to stake up plants. I use them a lot to break up the soil in my plants. You know how your soil sometimes gets compacted? These work great because they tend to go next to the roots instead of through them because they're so thin. So as far as I know, I've never damaged any roots with these. That's why I like them. Oh, look at that. Wowee. I probably could have done this a while ago. I should mention here too, for those of you that aren't familiar, when you root things in water, it's really important to keep, when you take them from the water and put them in the soil, it's really important to keep that soil moist for a little while because they will go into shock. I've had it happen. If you suddenly take them out of water and put them in a dry spot, they don't know what's going on. So these roots need to be kept somewhat moist, at least for the first week or two. Then after that, they should be okay. They'll find their way to the water in the soil eventually. But initially, you want to keep it evenly moist. Not wet, not too wet, because you don't want to rot it. Wow. Look at that. Hopefully you can see that. Okay. Let's stick her in there. Boy, this pot is just barely deep enough. In fact, some of these roots are going to stick out, but they'll probably find their way. I'm going to add just a little more soil right here by this one. Okay. I'm looking at the label on here and on this pot, and it's reminding me of something that happened yesterday. I was talking to my daughter, and we were talking about something about plants, and she was telling me the name of her plant that is doing really good. It got a little peaked, but it's doing really good. And when she told me what it was, I said, I don't remember giving you one of those. Did you buy that on your own or whatever? And we talked about it. Well, we ended up having a really good laugh because she said, well, Mom, that's what it says on this, what's what the label says on the side of the pot. One of these labels. And I felt so bad for her. I said, honey, don't pay any attention to those labels. That's the greenhouse label or the store's label. I said, my labels will be sticking out of the soil. So I'm glad we got that straightened out, because if she's using that to base her knowledge of how to take care of something, that could be detrimental to her plant. But anyway, so we had a little chuckle over that, and now she knows. All right, so Let's see how this guy does. I'm going to put a little water in. I'll probably add a little bit more in a little while. All right. And then we have this guy. And this one, this is my Hoya Hindu rope. My sister, I gotta keep looking at the camera because I've been told that I'm not getting everything in the screen, and I want you guys to see what I'm doing. This plant came in a tall glass slender vase, and it was about this long. This is all new growth. And I had it in there forever, and it wasn't growing. And I knew that someday I'd have to take it out anyway. The roots were embedded in the floral foam in the bottom of that vase. I did a video on it if you want to see it. If you want to feel agitated and sitting on the edge of your seat for half an hour, that's the film for you. Otherwise, just suffice it to say, it was, I was beside myself because this plant means a lot to me. And there's a lot of meaning behind it. And I didn't want to lose it. I didn't want to ruin it. But I knew I couldn't leave it in that jar. So I did get it out successfully. I think I broke off a couple roots, just a couple. And they're very, very fine. So it was a difficult project, but we got it done. And now what I want to show you, what's so exciting to me about this is, I don't know if you can see in the lighting. I'm hoping you can see the difference in the color of this last clump from where my thumb is to the end versus where my thumb is towards me, towards the pot. Look at how dark green that is. Isn't that something? It's like, it's almost black in real life from about here down. It almost looks like plastic. It's crazy. Very healthy. That's all the new growth. And you know how I got that? I moved it to a shelf that was right next to where I spend a lot of time. And I put one of those lights that my husband made like almost right over it. Maybe a foot and a half away. And I got all this growth within just a couple of weeks. So these really do need bright light. I wouldn't have known that by looking at this plant. But they do need bright light. And this was the result of giving them that extra light, was that this extra growth. What I want to do right now is cut part of this off and stick it in here. And it's making me a little uncomfortable because I don't want to do anything to harm or ruin this plant. But I want it to get full. So that's what I'm going to do. All right. Now, I need to take it off under here, so I'm going to cut it as close to this leaf as I can, but I need this node for it to root. If I cut it up here, there's nowhere for the roots to come out. So I'm going to have to sacrifice this leaf, I think. But I'm going to cut this, and I don't want to harm my plant. Yeah. Ooh. Okay. So you can see that's not hurting anything there. And I'm assuming that I'm going to get not only new growth going straight out, it may even branch out there, because that's what most plants do. And I did notice when I put this up here today that it looks like it's getting another leaf here. Let me just pick that up and show that to you. You see that little light green piece there? That is another plant coming up. So yay! That's very exciting for me as well. I'm always so nervous with my Hoyas because I don't have many, but the few I have all have white specks on them. Not just, I guess it's just the nature of the plant. And it doesn't have spider mites. It doesn't have anything wrong with it. It just has white specks, and I'm always worried that those are mealybugs or spider mites, but they're not. Okay, look at this cute little guy. Isn't he funny looking? Almost looks like Mickey Mouse with the big ears. Alright, I am going to stick him right back in the soil, and I believe that it will be okay. I know that there are some plants that you're supposed to harden off before you do this, and I don't know if this is one of them, but I have never done this with my other Hoyas. I should say I've never hardened them off. I just cut them and stick them back in the soil, and they do just fine. So I'm hoping this will too. You know, I'm going to move that a little because I don't want to cover up that new baby that's coming. I should put this back a little further, right? Yeah, okay. Let's do that. Oops. And this soil is still a little damp way down in the bottom. And because it's a succulent of sorts, I'm not going to give this any water today. I'm going to wait until the whole plant needs water. I don't want this to rot. But I'm very excited. This is from my sister, Lisa. And my daughter, when she was a baby, used to call her Auntie Isa. So thank you, Auntie Isa. It's growing beautifully. Very excited. I'm in love with this plant. She's such a thoughtful girl. I don't know if this will root or not. I don't think so. Should we try it? It's the leaf I cut off. I did that with my zebra plant, and that didn't take. They rotted. In fact, my zebra plant is just barely hanging on, so, or I should say my husband's. So I'll be doing an update on that in the future. Alright. And last but not least, at least for today, I still have a lot more of, I've got repotting, I've got propagating that needs to be done. I've got a lot of stuff I have to move yet. So I've got a lot coming in the future. Oh my goodness. Wow, I knew I had roots. I didn't realize how, I didn't realize it was like this. Oh my goodness. Look at that. And I got a rotted leaf on there. That's not good, folks. You don't want to get rotted leaves in the water. That will kill your plant. And it'll also make them stink. Ew. Well, it doesn't stink yet, but it will. It looks like it stinks. Might just be my smeller's not so good. Alright, I'm going to get these in soil right away. These are my coleus that I saved from my front porch. I wanted to do a video of that for you guys this summer. I think I did one in the very early part of the year and nothing after that. And that was beyond my control as well. So I apologize, but maybe next year. In the meantime, I did I know some of you love to see me digging in the soil, and I love that too. That's my favorite part of repotting. Unfortunately, because I have no room to put my tub up on the table, and I have no one filming me, so I can't keep getting up and moving the camera back and forth. But I have my tub in front of me on the floor so that I can reach it easily. But soon, I hope we'll get things back to normal here. And alright, I am going to water this. Coleus are water lovers. They will droop very quickly if they're thirsty. But the good news is they usually bounce back just as quick. This plant came from one that I had out on my front porch, as I just said. And it was about, I don't know, 3 feet, 4 feet tall. And it started out smaller than this. And I put it in a big pot. They grow very fast given the right conditions. I was always told that these are shade plants. But in my opinion, that hasn't been the case. It's I don't know what that is on there. Something on the front of there, and I can't tell what that is. Well, we'll see. These have always grown best in east and south for me. East being the best. It doesn't like full sun all day long, but it does need some full sun to keep its color. So I keep it in my east window. I've always grown all my coleus in my east window, and it's always been very happy there. So she's the only one that's going in this pot, I think. I think I'm going to give a separate pot to the other one because come spring, I'm going to be putting them back outside. Hopefully she'll make it through the winter. Okay. Ooh. Okay, so that's that. Now, I got one more. I didn't get a pot for her. I have some pots in front of me, but I don't really want to use, I don't think I want to use that big a one. That's awful big for this size plant. I don't want to have to repot her in another month either. Well, you know what? I am going to use one of those. Now, keeping in mind, once again, that maybe if I can figure out how to talk, I can explain it to you. When you overpot, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to kill your plant. But you have to be very, very cautious. Because what's going to happen is the soil that is not, the plant is, the roots are only going to take up as much water as that plant needs. And then you have to depend on the air that's flowing through the soil, and hopefully you've got good drainage and time to dry it out. The longer the wet soil is around the roots, the more chance you have of getting root rot. While the roots are drinking up the soil, they're open. They're kind of like a, if you can picture it like a plastic tube that feeds water into something. I'm trying to think of a good example, but I can't right off the top of my head. But that water will go up that tube, like it will go up the root. The root will soak it up from the end, and it'll feed it up to the plant. And whatever's in there will stay in there until the plant's done drinking. And once the plant's done drinking, that water has to go away. If those roots stay wet, they're going to rot. Now, I know some people are going to ask me, why then are they okay to be in complete water? I asked that of a friend of mine many years ago who owned a huge plant store herself, and her response to me was, when a plant is in water, it's getting a lot more oxygen than it is in soil. Now, plant friends, I have no idea if that's true or not. I'm just telling you what I was told. So you can research that, and maybe you can find out that that's not true. And may or may not be. But that's what I was told. And I'm sure there's maybe even a more scientific explanation of why it is that they're okay to be in water but not wet soil. But that's the explanation I was given. And to be honest with you, it's not important to me. I really don't. It doesn't matter to me one way or another. Okay. This piece broke off, and I'm gonna stick this in here, even though it doesn't have any roots. I'm gonna just stick that in there because I think it'll root on its own. And the soil is awfully wet already, so I'm not gonna add anything to it. But so there we are. That's it for today, and I'm sure that's gonna be long enough when I go to check. I always think my videos are shorter than they are. I try to keep them shorter, and I don't know, I guess it's just not in the cards for me. But that's okay. Some of you love my long videos, and I love you for that. So thanks for sticking with me, and I hope you all have a great weekend. I will try to bring more videos to you in the next couple days. I do try, folks. I try every day. And one of these days it won't be such a difficult thing to do, because I do really enjoy doing the videos. And even though we can't verbally talk to each other, I know that you're watching, and I know that you're listening, and I know that you're appreciating what I do. And that's important to me, especially right now, because since I've become homebound here, I'm feeling like I'm lacking purpose. And you know, my mom always said to me, you were never one to rest well. She said, she was forever telling me, Lynn, you got to slow down. Lynn, you got to slow down. And I keep telling her, Mom, if I go any slower right now, I'd be going backwards. And her answer to that is good. But no, it's not good, folks. It's not. So, okay. Hang on. I'm sorry. I walked away to get a paper towel. I probably wouldn't be a very good movie producer, would I? But we're not striving for perfection here. We're just a couple of plant friends getting together over the airwaves, and that's what I love about the plant community. Very non-judgmental, I hope. And let's just get along. Let's love on each other and be kind to each other. Do nice things for each other. Alright, I just wanted to clean this up a little bit before I end the video. And normally I pause it and then I come back, but today I did it a little different. Alright. Make sure you can... Kind of hard to see in the... Trying to get them all in the light. Okay. Oh my goodness, yeah, 47 minutes. Good grief. Okay. Well, that's what it is. Hope you all have a great weekend, and I will be back again. Bye now.